Where's a job speaker as well?
No,
Moisha was missing. She was scattered around the entire office today.
I don't know. And it was right when
Nice.
Drunk and
Oh,
Broken
you got this. There we go.
like the song.
Alright.
Try this again.
And I guess they like wheeled me out, and I was like remaking the song based on surgery. And they were like, "You were so annoying." And I couldn't see anything. And I was like, "Where's my sign?" Like, what does every sign say?
Alright guys, we're going to try this again. Live stream's not working, so we'll just record a video for it. We'll start this meeting at 5:40. I recognize that Tanya, Sustina, Kunal, Scott, Carly, Zane, and I are present. Alright, first thing on the agenda, approval of the minutes from September 18th.
Don't do it.
Don't approve them.
What?
What Tanya's saying.
There are significant gaps because Tony was out of town for 4 days.
Okay, we can push it to a week. Push it a week. Is that fine with everyone? Push meetings minutes to next week. Alright, is everyone okay with the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, give a thumbs up. Alright, lit. Meeting preparation. Joshua, could you open up the first thing from mock trial? It's up there already. So yeah, mock trial finally submitted all the documentation correctly, so.
That's the correct budget. Daniel?
Okay. Mock trial has now submitted a complete budget of $17,000. Alright, so for this one, who likes to do math?
To double check the prices? Oh.
Not Tori.
Not Tori?
Listen, my math was correct.
Oh, one last
was
thing.
the wrong numbers.
That is true. You want
One last thing. Alright, before we start the meeting, Scott had talked to me beforehand from this meeting. He's requesting to utilize his laptop. He has a compelling reason to do so, so we'll authorize that as well. Yeah. Okay, now we need to do math.
Well, you just add them all up.
Just make sure everything matches and stuff like that. Or if you have to add it all up, make sure it all adds up correctly. Just go by the line items if you have the, yeah, so there's registration costs, what hotels cost, and what costs.
Oh, okay.
That is just travel services that the SGA. Right. Actually, okay, Josh, open it. You gotta use Excel? Alright, well, if you can't use Excel, give it a sec, I'll open it up. Give it a sec. Should work. Alright, close the card again. Why is it not working? Technology doesn't work with us today, it seems. Just download it. Open it through Excel. Yeah. Alright, there you go. Scroll down a bit. Okay, now find an empty cell and click on the empty cell. To the right. Anywhere on the right. Yeah. Oh, there are empty cells. Click on that one in the middle then.
I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Enable it. Enable it at the top. Top right.
That's why.
Oh, it's usually just one tab.
No.
They said that they were doing it.
Just here, ready to do plus.
What the hell?
Okay, you just saw that.
Okay, regardless. So I'll write this down.
Oh, we're gonna sum them up by
Yeah, registration fees are $2,585.
Okay.
In total. Okay, so I'll write that down.
2,500.
I know.
Yeah. Transportation is $1,008.46. Oh wait, no, my bad. Transportation transportation is $2,680.46.
2000 what?
$2,680.46.
Okay.
Okay. Registered hotels are going to be $12,025.59.
12,000. What was that? How much?
25 and 59.
$12,025.
Yep, 12,025.
Is that before or after 50%?
Wait,
I
5 and
might
9.
have settled.
So?
Almost settled. I might need finals.
Until March.
You good?
Is that number before or after the 50%?
Oh, sure.
We need a public percentage trophy.
Holy.
I was lucky.
Okay. Currently got all the numbers down? Okay.
So
So,
just to clarify, registration was
2585.
2585.
yep,
Travel was 2680.48.
yep,
46.
46.
46. Sorry. And the hotel costs are 12,025 and 59 cents.
Yep. Okay, now divide transportation and hotel by 50%.
Transportation in half is 1340.23. And if we give them the penny, $6,012.80.
Okay. Sorry. Travel is what?
$1,340.23.
1,000 what? Sorry.
340.23.
40.23. Okay.
And then hotel will be $6,012. And if we give them the penny, 80 cents.
How many give
I mean, it is 0.5, so.
Yeah, and then registration full amount is 2,585.
Yep.
Total amount requested is $9,938.02. Okay, that's the number we'll roll with.
Like half.
Yeah.
What way was
$9,938.02. Some at the bottom. Okay. So, we'll of course discuss that as this is still prep time, so we're not going to vote yet. We'll keep this stuff up. Sorry, Josh. And Josh, I'm going to kick you off this for a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Club cheer.
What was it?
9,000.
9,980.
Cool.
Okay. Club cheer. All right. Club cheer is requesting money for practices and for coaches. Everyone should have gone through these requests already. Are there any glaring issues that you guys want to bring up? If not,
Seems about right. Did you receive this request last year as well?
Not the coaches.
Not the coaches.
It was for the practice space.
so, well, time for me to bring up this issue. Or does anyone, Charlie or do you want to bring it up?
I'll fill in gaps.
All right. So, Club Cheer, despite the name Club Cheer, is not a part of the club system at UMBC. Does everyone hear
What do you
this?
mean club sport?
The club sports system at UMBC. Does everyone understand what the club sports system is?
No.
No, you do not. Okay. So club sports, the system essentially is sponsored by the athletics department. There are currently 25 organizations within there. They're given a separate budget by the athletics department. They compete on behalf of UMBC in intercollegiate competitions. And anything else for you?
So just to kind of clarify, sorry. Whenever an organization comes in to register as a club sport organization, period, they go through me or Courtney. Now this happened before me or Courtney were here, obviously, and they get to select how they want to be categorized. So if they are selecting that they are going to be a club sport, that's something that they select, and they also have to go through athletics, Greek life, same thing, arts and performance group, same thing. So they continues. Club sports and Greek life are obviously organizations that are limited funded organizations because of what Daniel said, they have their own budgets. So whenever Club Cheer went through this process, they selected to be an arts and performance group, so that's why they are a fully funded club and organization under our parameters. Does that kind of fill in any gaps?
Yeah. So one of the things that I, of course, free to disagree with though, is that Club Cheer, in their description, it is that they want to go and compete. That's the big thing. And within their constitution, there's another purpose statement. They do not state that this organization is designed to compete. Furthermore, in my personal opinion, I don't feel that we are setting this isn't a good step to take forward. If we allow organizations to sit in this period, which is like, okay, even though you are not recognized as a club sport at UMBC, however, you still go and represent UMBC in athletics competitions, despite the fact that a system for athletic competitions, athletic organizations seeking to represent UMBC existing, to me it sets a bad precedent. It encourages them to simply say, yeah, no, I don't want to do club sports, we'll utilize the finance board budget. Scott?
This is different from mock trial and Model UN.
So the difference between that is that athletics claims these organizations. A jurisdiction's been set. Essentially, the club sports is not in our jurisdiction. They can't control anything. We can't control anything that goes on in there other than through what Tori and Courtney do. And they, likewise, they cannot come in and start reaching for all these other organizations that we are responsible for. The thing about intellectual sports, no organization on campus claims intellectual sports. There's no system in place for them to represent UMBC in any capacity. There is no separate budgeting process they could even pursue. So the question that we now run into for Club Cheer is that, do we wish to set the precedent? Please make note that the precedent that we set here will also affect organizations such as Major Definition, Stilettos, Kleptomaniacs, and what's the last one? Thomas Boys. These are all organizations who do not specifically state poetry. These are all organizations. Poetry! They compete. Are they with you? So we run into, those are all within the arts and performance categories.
Off the top of my head, there's more than that under arts and performance.
Yeah. None of their constitutions that we've seen other than I think maybe definition as compete. We run into issues there. So we do need to think about how this will affect all organizations on campus and how this will affect when theoretically a ping pong club or something comes in as well, requesting equipment and training and facilities to go compete on behalf of UMBC. All right. Are there any questions at the moment? Any points of discussion anyone would like to bring up? Logan?
I can talk here, all right?
We've actually never established that because technically it's a prep meeting for finance board representatives. However, it is an open meeting and I can't say no because I just read.
You can say no, it doesn't offend me. I'm telling you now.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just,
I'd like to hear from finance board representatives first.
Yeah, go ahead.
so when you mean like compete, like say on behalf of UBC, like are they allowed to like say that you can have UBC?
We have them.
We're gonna have to find that out.
Yeah.
Huh.
We don't.
From them or from?
I'm gonna try to look into it.
Oh,
For
okay.
like,
I just didn't know if there was like.
and then, well, this, it's gonna depend on like the categorization of the
Yeah,
competition.
okay.
So looking at that versus like intellectual sports is just something I think is easy to go back to, like that using the name. So it's just something that, because like as being an organized group, they're allowed to use the name, but as far as competing under the name, we're gonna look into that.
Yeah.
That's not an answer Courtney and I know.
Yeah, because they would be like going to like other intercollegiate like.
Yeah. So another thing for me is like while this one does not technically apply for Club Cheer yet, is that how many organizations are currently on the club sports waiting list?
15. That was from 2016,
Yeah.
so that has changed since
That
then.
has changed. Would you say it's going one up, one down?
Probably both.
Probably both?
I mean,
Okay.
like one has come on, but I don't know if anyone's taken themselves
Yeah.
off, and I'm sure that groups have been added.
All right, so we'll go with the 15 current clubs attempting to acquire club sports recognition. In my personal opinion, though, this should not be our jurisdiction. The club system, I think it's a separate conversation for us to have as to why the club system cannot accommodate these clubs at the current moment. and it should not be currently forced on the finance board to be covering these organizations due to their failure to allocate resources correctly.
I don't know if I would phrase it that way,
Yeah, I wouldn't put it out.
but,
Okay.
because I think they were initially listed as like wanting to learn about their sport, and like in their mission statement, it said something along the lines of like participating in kind of like learning about cheer and like practicing that. So yeah, it doesn't say anything about competition, but like I wouldn't be so quick to like disregard them as like, well, they're not club sports, but they kind of are trying to act like club sports, so they're not ours, or like trying to dissociate it that way. I don't know. I just really like would like to hear what this is about what they mean by competition.
Yeah. Of course, when the organization gets here, we can bring that up. So, yeah. Tanya?
Clarifying question,
Yep.
so like Baja and like robotics and all that are classified under which groups?
Hobbies, well, different. Robotics is under, they might be under professional, career professional. Baja is for sure under career professional. I think robotics is as well.
Okay.
No, they're under hobby.
Under hobby?
Robotics is.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they met with me.
Yeah.
And I don't do career professional routes.
What's Scott?
Do we already have a cheerleading team under athletics, or is this the only one?
We have a dance team, I believe, but I don't think we have a cheerleading team.
There's something interesting because like at whenever the basketball games used to be in the rack, I remember going to some games, there is some like cheer team.
There
Yeah.
is a varsity chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that actually cheered for the games.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like under like athletics, like the, that like basketball football. So that's like.
It would be under athletics umbrella.
Okay.
Right.
And I'm going to continue to remind that, sorry, I keep deciding to talk when I'm meeting. They are listed arts and performance group. So any precedent set regards to this is going to reflect on all arts and performance groups. Just a reminder.
Because you know, veterans of the board will know kleptomaniacs, stilettos, mama's boys will come here and they will request funding for various competitions that they wish to attend. Keep in mind, of course, actions have consequences. So don't complain in like 4 weeks, but like, I don't want to do that. Think through this carefully, everyone. But I think we're going to move on to the next one.
Daniel?
Yep.
Tanya's going to say.
Tanya?
Sorry, I'm just trying to type and do all the things.
Yeah.
So in the interest of like precedence and setting those, since they are currently like underperforming arts, I don't think that the like club sport discussion is like necessarily fair to look at tonight for that. Just because of the fact that it will affect so many other groups. So I'm in favor of just like strictly looking at it from like the performance standpoint.
Yeah, I think it's just it says name, it says club cheer, but like, they are under.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we'll move on to the next organization though, and we'll come back to club cheer in 30 minutes. But next we have VSA. You all looked through this one, right? Any big issues you guys have with it?
They got their cater stuff to me late, but it's in the drive there now.
Can we fill the budget?
It's in the next one. So,
105, they're not going to tax me. They should be tax exempt.
Yeah, it says 0 times.
What they wrote down. And I think that's what they're doing. We'll ask them when they get here.
Well, yeah.
So, question of course, we're going to discuss food. What's the current max food that we're going to be funding this year? That's the only big discussion point I think we'll have here. Anything else, anyone?
I mean, I went to this event last year, and I don't know if this is like something that really needs to be brought up or if it's gonna make a difference really. But I went to it last year. It was in the ballroom. There were a lot of people in the ballroom, and they did request ticket staff for it because they figured people would be going in and out. But it was still like a large number of people kind of like circulating throughout the ballroom. I think you also went to that event too, and we were talking with the security or student marshals who were there who were also like concerned about the size of the event because it was very successful. But like, should they have had wristbands or should they?
Well, they moved it to the terrace this time around.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
Never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no, well, you said it's because of the terrace.
Yeah,
That's
because of the terrace.
terrace.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the next organization, we'll have media and comics and other media, one way around. Comics and other media, which is the hold a Comic-Con at UMBC. I want you to look through this. Are there any big issues you guys currently have?
I'm still confused about food.
Yeah, you just go to budget.
Thanks.
I don't understand how.
Organizations don't submit their budget sheets, but
Yeah,
you
that's
have
what
their-
happens.
where the
That
heck
was
is
the other
it?
thing, I couldn't find it where they submitted it, so
Yeah.
I actually have to.
Where is it?
I'm just not all
There it is.
I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah,
So, me and Ty are confused about food.
yeah, that's
I
the
don't
question I'm
understand.
getting about food.
I don't.
Yeah.
What was your question? Oh, just why the habit? Like why? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, not just that, but stuff along that the people were saying.
Yep,
Yeah.
apparently not anymore.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
the actual
never mind.
classic tutoring thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's lower than the amount they requested.
Oh. They also have, like, and then the other folder is like the vendor forms, I guess, of like, I guess contracts about people coming, or like other people selling stuff, it's in the folder, you know, if you, yeah.
Okay.
So
And what's
it's
the
not- I
vendors?
haven't even looked through all, I literally just found this earlier today, cause it was on, they didn't submit it, but it was on Basecamp, so I found it on there.
We need to be, of course, asking if the organization taking on any revenue from having these vendors. Preferably, I would like, we would like to look through these, but
Are these contracts up to date?
This was, yeah, this was in the Basecamp folder within like the past week or so, is what's in it.
Okay.
Did one of those say 2015, the first one you clicked on, the picture?
That's
Let me
easy.
see. Okay, open
it's
this
bad
up.
handwriting.
I just saw it very quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
If they're in Basecamp, they probably would have had.
Yeah, she would have. Were contracts stated in her information?
Contracts were 0.
It was zero, right? So.
Okay, are there any other issues with that? We need to ask when the food's going, who's eating this food? That's the big thing for me. Anything else? If not, we'll move on.
Where was that? What room?
It's gonna be in third floor UC.
To the bottom.
Yeah. Alright, then we have Paxa. Paxa is requesting for some night, that is busy night, November 15th. So at the current moment, they're lacking food documentation, so we will hear them, but we push it up to next week, I think.
I mean, unless.
It's like $2,500.
Yeah.
Did you guys, did
I
anybody
emailed them and Britt also emailed them asking for it.
No response?
As far as I know, my laptop was dead. So it
I
doesn't
mean, the meeting's kind of started, I don't like really want to accept documentation when the meeting's already started. It seems very, very last minute.
Yeah,
Organization.
they had conversations last year, actually.
And we're gonna send them to clarify it, we're not gonna use our time to figure all this stuff out.
Did anybody attend the event last year? Not.
I don't remember if I did.
Was it in the ballroom?
I don't like that.
I feel like I'm.
Regardless, we'll look at their well, so they're requesting for generally standard fees other than the food and for the contract. They struck the photographer from their contract request as the photographer was a UMBC student, so they will no longer be requiring that. We'll ask again about the DJ, of course, double check, you know, a little bit of freedoms.
What's the name
And,
again?
the photographer, the DJ, for the contract. Oh, they didn't state it. Where's the contract for that?
The name was listed.
It's on there.
Where? There we go.
Anyway,
Contract.
there's like documentation of that.
DJ Kush. Okay.
DJ Bush.
Kush? Kush?
I think they've used them a couple times.
Yeah, there's no documentation for it either.
Who knows now?
There's no DJ documentation.
Who was that email?
Huh?
Who was that email?
That email wasn't, that was just about
Ken?
removing the photographer.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna table this organization till next week, we'll get it in order.
well, I mean, that's probably the best for them too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
just,
Other than that, of course, we'll need to have a discussion on, here's the question. So this is a question for the board. If we're gonna table the organization initially, do you guys want to use the time to discuss the request still, or do you just wanna table it and we'll just move on to something else?
table it.
If we table it, we won't discuss the rest of the requests then. We'll just
Well-
immediately table them? Or will we discuss decoration, will we discuss
I mean, I think
contracts?
we should discuss that so we can do general consent.
Okay.
Maybe that's. I mean, unless we need to come back, but like if it's just providing documentation for food and
Okay,
whatnot.
so we'll still discuss the request, everyone?
Yeah, and then once we do the food fest, then we'll know.
Okay, sounds good. Works for me, but they won't get a vote tonight. Alright, and then the last organization is Hack UMBC. Hack UMBC is requesting the basic stuff. We're asking the details of the event, what's going on, who's coming. I don't see anything too major with this one. They're doing it for quite a while.
Yeah, Hack UMBC is usually like a long time.
Yeah, it's like a 24-hour event, I think.
Well, it says it stops at like 11 p.m. or something.
Yeah.
It's also across 30 different buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was.
Yeah. So, Hack UMBC, I don't see any major issues. They'll come in, we'll ask the usual questions, they'll confirm. We'll approve, I think, right? Okay. So, let's get started then. We'll start 5 minutes early onto mock trial. Alright.
Are they coming in or?
They're not. I don't think so, at least.
They are out there in pretty short time.
I think they told me they were.
Okay.
I just saw people. You want me to go get them? Yeah, these people, but.
Yeah. Say hello. Do you want to get FYI?
For everyone that has a question sheet, there was some glitch that the computer kept doing.
Right.
At the very bottom where it says continue on next page and then it says cheer, scratch out cheer, please. Thank you.
Oh, do you want to?
Yeah, we're gonna assign these. Who wants to take club cheer? Zane, you got club cheer.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Just sit right there. Yeah. VSA, Carly, you got that one?
What do I do?
VSA?
Oh, sure.
Yep.
I'll do comments.
We're just going in order now.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You have a volunteer, so I'm gonna take them. Volunteer people. Well, Scott, you got comments with other media?
No, do you want comics?
If you don't want to do this,
Kunal, you got Paksa?
where's the, oh. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's on
sure.
the back. And then Tanya, you got Hack UMBC?
Yep, Cecina does.
Oh, Cecina, my bad. I'm sorry. I love you, Cecina. And then Tanya, she'll be focusing most of the minutes today. Sorry again. And then I'll be doing whatever I do. Wonderful. Yeah. I'm trying. I love my trial this one. Okay.
And yeah.
One trial, that's small.
Continuing
I'm quick one.
Yeah.
Oh, this one. Oh.
There's like a
Alright, mock trials in the room, everyone. Do we need to do another round of introductions?
Yeah.
Do you guys need it? Is the question. I think we're good? Okay. Board, do you guys really want to have introductions when they've been here?
It's nice seeing you.
It's nice seeing you guys again. Welcome back. Alright, so this budget's right?
Yes.
Please, thank you very much. Alright. Are there any other questions for the organization from the board?
And these all pertain, just to clarify, these all hotel costs all pertain to the same quotes that you submitted last week that have been in the, okay.
Yeah, it's the same exact hotels and appointments that we submitted last week, just with the right.
And they don't include tax, right?
I don't believe so.
Do that?
They can't, they're
No,
out
they
of
can't
state.
if they're out of state.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Doesn't matter, guys. If it's out of state, it can. If it's in state, it can.
We just can't pay.
Yeah. You can't pay Maryland tax because it's double dipping.
Yeah, because we are the state.
Yeah. I am the state. Alright, regardless, so everything looks good. We'll just move into period discussion with finance board. Alright, finance board, we're gonna start talking. Who wants to start? Yeah, that'd be great. Tell me. Yep, and there you go. So travel, this is a 50% value. Travel's at 1,340, hotels at 6,012, 79, registration at 25.85. I think there isn't very much discussion on registration fees. If not,
440 funding.
Scott? Okay. Cecina? Alright. And we'll give Tanya a second to type. Alright. So if you just type in 25.85 for the other side, like right next to registration, just so we keep what's been completed. Okay.
You said 25.85.
Yep, 25.85. Wonderful. Hotels now. That's the 50% value that we had agreed upon for SWE and for SACE. Will we continue that precedent? Yes? Alright, continue that one in. Type it in as well. Okay, 0.79. Travel. Well, technically travel, this one is where we do not have precedent to follow. We have funded 50% of airfare. However, this is for a van rental as well as train tickets. Do we wish to modify any of our precedents, or do we apply the same rule?
I think for airfare, we keep it 50%, but, those bus travel, maybe lowering that percent. I mean, not increasing it.
I don't mind
Lower,
fully
lower.
funding bus travel and maybe like 50% of train tickets
Yeah,
or
the bus
like
travel.
Huh?
We're focusing on vans, or we're focusing on
vans,
trains?
sorry.
Oh, vans.
Yeah, vans.
Or rent vans.
Things like bus.
I mean, I'm not good with like cost of travel. I don't know like what's like I feel like 50% of train costs would be fine for like a train ticket like that expensive.
Cause I'd like to like incentivize like buses and
Cheaper
trains.
options.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
you wanna
They're
think
not
that
flying
you fully
everywhere.
fund.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for that thing, regardless, they'll be taking on the other 50% of the cost. We're already implementing cost sharing. If they really want to fly, they're paying for the flying.
Right, no, okay.
Yeah, but
So,
they're,
I wouldn't say you're incentivizing flight that much, as there still be bearing equal costs. Not equal costs across the three forms of transportation, but they do know, okay, if a bus ticket's $30, minus 4 gives me $15, bus ticket's $15. If I want a $400 flight, minus 4 gives me $200, you're still paying $200 out of pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like, what if we
Yeah.
were to-
So do we want to just stick with 50?
No, I'm saying, what if we like fully funded low, like cheaper modes of
Okay.
transportation, and would only fund like 50% for like flights, as a way to
I agree.
incentivize to not fly if you can.
I think they're incentivized either
I
way.
think what Carly's saying, just to clarify, because I get where the confusion is between both of you
Yeah.
right now, is that like, if you fund 100% of like, I'm gonna use the same two numbers you just used, that $30, you're still only paying $30 versus 200, so it saves money long term.
Okay.
Even if it's a higher percentage coverage, it's still a
Yeah.
lower cost overall. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yep. What's the discussion? Tanya says scenic banal. And Scott.
I agree with Carly and Kunal.
Okay. What percent would you like to fund at then? If we have, actually Tanya and Cecina will need to speak on this one so we can get a firm majority or not.
Initially I was understanding and siding along Daniel's line of thinking. However, if it also costs less money for the finance board, I think that's something to consider. So now I'm not sure.
Yeah, that sense.
So Carly, you're saying, we fully fund like buses and stuff, right? Like cheaper modes.
Vans, yeah.
Okay, and then Daniel, what are you saying?
We just keep it at 50%? Keep it nice and consistent.
Yeah, I'm gonna go keep it at.
I think that Carly and Kunal's idea is more compelling because if people see like bus free, airfare 50%, like it will start like the social engineering to people like, oh, let's take the bus instead of flying, so I don't have to pay anything, and that will increase cost saving over time if more people opt for that option rather than
But
not understanding that.
at the same time, considering like that typically takes longer, like depending on where you're going, I don't know if it's gonna be that much of an incentive.
So, alright, I'll just speak for a
That's why we
second.
have to heavily incentivize it at 100% for a cheap option.
again,
So you guys can continue your discussion, I'm not gonna interrupt it. Tanya, would you like to respond?
I was just going to say that regardless of whether or not it's incentivized, if you're prioritizing other life obligations, the time is more valuable.
Yeah. Alright, so I'll bring my line of thinking. They're not looking at costs, they're looking at distance. It's from a radius of 50 miles up to New York perhaps. You know, that distance, sure, bus ride makes sense. You're not gonna incentivize, even if you pay 100% of it, for a bus ride to California.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
different. That obviously you would take a plane.
Yeah, okay, so at that point, we're not reaching any, they're not gonna get incentivized. The way that they reach these places, they generally just follow what they used to do. They're not gonna be like, well, finance board is funding flights now, time for me to also shell out an additional sum of money to go fly. It's just like, they're also bearing the cost in my mind. It's just like, okay, whether you're bearing the cost of $15 or whether you're bearing the cost of $200, it's on them, and they realize that the costs build up.
But do we also want to be so cheap as to say for a $30 bus ticket, we're only going to give you $15 of it?
We can set a minimum if that's a thing. Or like a,
Screen.
because like with hotels previous, or like I did last year, there was like the 25% or $40 per room, whichever. So you could do something similar if you were like concerned that it was too low a funding.
Remember, sorry, we should be talking about trains right now, not buses. Go back to trains, because we're setting precedent on trains. Yeah, we're talking about trains and vans. Bringing the discussion back. Not buses, I messed up, my apologies. Trains.
How are the vans being used to get?
We're talking about trains.
And bands.
What about vans?
Let's finish the trains talking, then we'll hit the vans.
I think trains 50%.
Trains 50%?
Like airfare.
Like
I
airfare?
agree with that.
On
Yeah,
business
I mean,
travel.
On distance travel? Very well. Fun. Trains are 50%. Wonderful.
Okay, for the vans.
All right, back to the vans.
Are they being used
The white
for
vans.
transportation in the area at the event to get around at the event, or is it to get to the event, like the hotel?
All right, we'll open it up to a clarification period. Scott, you'll ask the question to the organization.
It's going to be used probably for both, because if we're going to Duke, the hotel is not like right next to the tournament venue, and we have basically no method of transportation unless we call Ubers to the tournament venue. So we'll probably just pile into the van and then drive over to the courthouse or wherever the tournament is being held,
Okay.
and then back to the hotel at the end of the day.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's $600 a piece.
$504.
Huh?
$504.
I don't know how to round up.
Questions for feasibility, because the only place that I've ever gone to for like rental requires that drivers be at least 25 years of age. Is that going to be like an issue?
I think they mentioned last week.
No, one second. You want to open it up? Let's open it up. Organization, ask the question.
Our coach is 27,
Okay.
so we're fine. I don't know about
How many vans you getting?
We're getting one for
One van.
Yeah.
For how many people?
For it's a 15 passenger. We have 10 on A. So
Okay. Okay. Big vans.
Also,
So I guess that
some places do, I think we talked just to clarify for future, some places do let you, it's just more expensive for the period of time.
All right.
And you have to get insurance.
I was just like wondering like if,
I
I
think
don't know, it doesn't
yeah.
affect the resident or not.
Yeah. Okay. I have another question for you, organization. So, how many days are you renting this van for?
it's going to be from Friday morning to Sunday night.
Sunday night. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I think it's
2.5
reasonable.
days. It's just like we're at that weird impasse again where it's like I don't know what the hell a van costs.
Yeah, I just don't know the regular.
Yeah.
I just don't know the relative cost of like.
Yeah. We're in that weird spot again.
Mine
of
was
course.
just included in that, right?
Huh?
Like, mine, or like, is, like.
Is gas and stuff in there included?
Yeah.
You guys are paying that out of pocket? Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess
We'll find out full or 50%? 50%?
For the van.
For the vans?
Oh, no, full, sorry.
Full?
Yeah, full, sorry. No, not full. Yeah.
Okay. What's the feeling on this one, everyone? Tanya?
I'm feeling like with a full van, I can feel like 100% is fine, but like I'm
50-person van?
concerned about that as a precedent.
I think that was
Can you
just
fit
like.
a 10-person van?
Well, they requested 50-person van.
But they probably don't make vans in increments of like.
I like the 11-person van, thank you very much. Christina? Full for this one? No? Full? Scott?
I think van is a weird middle ground between train and bus.
Okay, rental.
Rental, and then trains and longer.
Rental vans. Alright.
Maybe 75%.
75%.
Shuffle.
1 second. I essentially did that. So it's full. 75. Full. Right? Full. Okay. And then me. What am I feeling? The questions indeed. So my big thing, of course, is that we always want, it's one of the personal philosophies that I hold, is that clubs have to have skin in the game as well, to encourage them to cut costs. Of course, like giving them a full one, you know, I'm not super opposed to it, of course, but on the other hand, I do want cost sharing on the organizations so that they are encouraged to look for the cheapest options. So I understand why we want on. Yeah, this is not marginal cost. Yeah, and it's just like, I prefer somewhere between 50 and 75%, but however, if the board would like to move forward with full, of course, we currently have a majority, so we could move forward.
What do you think of the 75? I mean, yeah, I would just say full because, I mean, it is like a cheaper option for transportation, and I don't know. You're already like for a class like this, it's also going to be travel, hotel registration. Like they're already also bearing costs of hotel sharing, and then I mean registration obviously is a lot, but like if they're, yeah, I would just say full because it's like for anyone.
So a question I do pose to the board, do we draw a limit upon van rentals of certain amounts, etc.? Type of vehicle, because this is just rental vans right now, or do we want to establish a broader
I think we
thing?
can specify that if another thing.
Yeah. All right. So I'd like to take a straw poll. Oh, Scott?
But like, vans still cost like more than buses. If we're gonna fund vans and buses at the same, why not just get a van?
We haven't even talked about buses.
Yeah, we're not talking about buses yet. Gosh, get with the message.
Trains, rentals.
Trains and rental vans. That's what we're focusing on.
They should get a rental train then.
Rental train.
All right, keep on track.
Okay.
So, on track.
All right. I'd like to take a straw poll at the current moment. All those. Hey, Logan. Shush. Okay. I'd like to take a straw poll now. All those for fully funding rental van travel, please raise your hand. One, two. Okay. Tanya, is that
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4. All those against, please raise your hand. 5 to 2. All right. Wonderful. Okay. I think we can fairly move on. Could you plot? So 50%. Gotta have to cut that shit again. I hate math. Okay. Callaway, Josh. I'm sorry. We have to.
Here, I have it up in front of me.
That was at 50%, so
Oh.
now there's more math.
We have to add these two together.
So 1672
16.
divided by 2 is 836
Okay, what was this?
even.
Divide by 2. Okay.
And then the rentals are at 100%, correct?
Yep.
So it'll be for both of them $1,008.46.
108. 108.46. Okay. And then the sum of that is 1844. 1844.46. And for a total of. How's the number increase?
The 1,000.
Oh, because it's 100 today.
Oh, I'm blind. Not bad. No, please don't do that. I just want to know how much this is. $9,606.25 is the amount we will fund for mock trial for all of their competitions this year. All right. Is there any more discussion?
Nope. Make a motion to.
Is that up until if we get to one, so it's a semi-final round?
Yeah.
Okay. All of this year, so I just want to clarify.
Sorry, Dustin. Let's get rolling. All those for approving the amount of $9,606.25. Please raise your hand. Right. Oh,
I made a motion.
all right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. All right.
I make
Is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion to fully fund, or to fund, mock trial for $9,606.25.
All right.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. All those for funding mock trial for the amount of $9,606.25. Please raise your hand.
This is my hand.
Sign raise your hand.
You can do it.
Put your hand down. Yeah, well, we're voting right now. All right. 7 for, 0 against, 0 abstaining. The organization has a question.
Did you guys add the half of the train travel in that? Or no?
Yeah.
That was all.
Don't worry about it. I'm doing that. Yeah. All right. So long.
Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
I have, yeah, I think I really gave this to you last time, actually, just
Joshua, the agenda. Come here at 6:45. Come here. You all sit here. All right. So questions or issues? Alright, got something, you want you get set up something, you guys want to do that, or you guys can go up there?
Daniel,
Yeah?
can you go back to what you did the Excel sheet we just had?
Yeah, so open up the Excel sheet.
Travel was supposed to be 1844. That didn't add together. Come back. Carly.
Carly!
Carly!
We're coming back.
Yeah, that's
Come
why-
back.
Come back.
Hey,
Fuck
that's
up.
what I tried to say to you when I said it was 100%.
Yeah.
That's why it went up. Because
Yeah.
they were funding 100%.
Yeah. Oh,
That's what I was saying.
But it
Back
was
up.
like, I didn't interrupt you much.
sorry, I'm sorry. I made a mistake.
Alright, they asked you.
You're getting a hard money.
Sorry?
Can someone actually do the math for me?
Yeah, it's 1,800. Hold on. 1844.46.
Okay.
Change that number on the top.
Right
There we
there.
go, yeah.
You say it again?
1,844.46.
Oh, I did it right the first time.
Yeah.
And then I changed it, because I'm an idiot. Okay.
Pretty cool.
Okay. Oh, no, go back. Oh, Control Z, Control Z.
Oh,
Control Z, Control Z, yeah, okay. And now you see, okay, hold, go to 9938.02. Okay. Yep, there you go. Now, you see that little box down there in the bottom right corner of that box? Drag it over, drag it over.
Extend it.
Yeah, extend it. There we go. Let go.
Let go.
Let go. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
1,442.25 is the actual amount. Okay, I'm gonna have to modify the legislation. Is there a motion on the floor? Can we modify this legislation?
So what's the correct total?
1,442.25.
Move to reconsider the previous
Reconsider.
previous request.
Okay, all those, is there a second?
Second in.
Okay, is there, all those for reconsidering this motion? Alright, 7-0-0. Alright, is there another motion on the floor?
Move to approve.
Okay.
For the amount of 10,442.25.
Okay.
Second.
Alright, all those for approving 10,442.25, raise your hand. 7-0-0. So long.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I'm sorry. It's a bit of a mess right now, I do apologize.
Math is not a troll. This semester. No. I mean, it wasn't including you. It was just the wrong numbers.
The wrong numbers.
Give us a second. I'm taking a second. I made a mistake. I gotta like, collect myself.
We're waiting for it. We can do introductions
We could do
while
that.
we wait for her.
We can. Alright. I'll start. Sorry guys. Welcome to Finance Board. I'm the current chair of the Finance Board. My name is Daniel Way. I use he, him pronouns. We'll go this way.
Hi, I'm Dave Hoffmer. I'm the vice president of the organization. I use he.
Carly's the treasurer. She's outside.
We'll just.
Alright. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Matthew Brown. I'm president of the Math Boys Club and the Youth Lunch Club. I use the pronoun he, him.
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm here. Sorry, can you say that again?
Karina.
Karina.
I'm the treasurer of club here. I'm Kim and I'm president.
I'm Miyamani, vice president.
I am Logan. I'm the observer. Use he, him pronouns.
Scott Buchanan, Finance Board Representative, PM.
I'll find for representative pronouns.
Tori Heasley, I'm the coordinator for student organizations and one of the finance board advisors. Sure.
Susanna, finance board representative. She her pronouns.
Hi, my name's Tanya. I'm the vice chair of the finance board. I'll be taking minutes this evening. Welcome.
Hello, Joshua, freshman ambassador.
Right. Okay. So, you should have received a list of questions. You guys good? Okay. So Zane, right here, will be asking the questions to you guys. Alright. Zane, got it.
So can you just tell us a little bit about your club and what you do?
Okay, so I don't know if you guys know, but there's a varsity team, cheer team. They don't stunt or tumble, they just cheer and dance for the games. So we're like the stunting and tumbling part of it. So because we don't like have insurance like stunt on practice, we practice off campus at a cheer gym.
And then can you just tell us about a little bit about like what you're requesting, about the request?
Yeah, so since we do practice off campus, so we practice off campus twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. One of the days we have a coach, and cheer is like really expensive, so like to rent out the gym, like as well as the coach, it like adds up a lot. So like last semester, Kim basically paid like out of pocket for like most of the expenses. This semester right now we have like in place like monthly dues for like each member to pay to like help to cover all those costs, but like it's still like right now we're having each person pay like $65 a month, which is still a lot, but like that doesn't even cover everything for the semester, so that's why I need that to help, so that people are able to like be a part of the club.
Also, what we're using the gym for when we go is we put together our own routines, and we hope to like exhibit. We're not really like competing; we're exhibiting, like performing at a cheer competition where people are competing, but we're just showcasing. Yes, and also none of us we're not coaches. We just like enjoy cheer, and like we have people who have no cheer experience and are interested in cheer. So we have a coach to help us out with like what we should be doing, how to do stunts safely, how to tumble safely, things like that. And our team is all inclusive, so we don't have like tryouts and cuts. Like whoever shows up to practices are on the team.
Is everyone fine speaking to the next two questions?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. No, okay.
And then
can you just talk about the competitions that your organization is preparing for?
So we are looking into a brand called Epic, and they hold competitions like within the area. We're not trying to go out because it's way expensive. So there is like a fee per athlete that goes, and it's probably going to be about $40 per athlete, but we plan on having like leftovers from our dues once we cover like practices and stuff, putting that towards the competition. We're just asking for like the practices and coach fees.
And then how did you choose this gym?
It was really close. And it was the best like bang for our buck basically, because yeah, it was basically it was the cheapest and closest.
And then how did you choose the coaches?
So they give us the coach. They have all like pretty like trained coaches, and the coach that we have right now, she's like an F5 mom. Like they're an all-star gym, so they do like competitive cheer and all that stuff. So they give us like one of their coaches. Okay. So they're experienced and all that stuff.
So she is the cheapest coach.
Okay.
Yeah, she is.
Okay. And then so just check. You said you checked maybe in the request for other sources of funding. So is that just like the dues? Or?
Yeah, it's honestly just us paying for
okay.
it and fundraising.
And then you said the attendance was 14 UBC students. Was there a emergency advisor?
Yeah, so we actually had more people join this semester, which is great, than what we expected. So we're at like 25 right now.
Okay. And then so I guess, and then on the request too, it has 2 coach invoices, and then there's some of the dates were added. So is that a different coach, or is that?
It's the same coach, yeah. So it was just like, I guess our dates were off, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's included all in like the total.
Okay.
So I open up to any other questions the board currently has. Tanya?
So you mentioned that the membership was like open, anyone that tries out can stay sort of thing, but talking about like the dues, so like if they show up and are like automatically accepted, do they have to pay dues?
So if they plan on like, so we have it like each month, so that way like, we can cover like the cost for that month. So like, we told them like at like the first information meeting at like the first practice, like how we have the dues in place for that. So like, if you're gonna like plan to be like a consistent member on the team, like those will be like, you should be expected to pay those. But we also did mention like if you have like financial problems or anything like that, just like talk to us and we'll like figure out a way. Like we don't want anyone to be pushed away because of the price, but like having like people pay like makes it easier on us so we don't have to pay out of pocket.
Sorry, just another clarifying point though. So at the time you submitted this, there was one non-UMBC student. Yeah, well, so they modified that and that was 25 people. Are there any non-UMBC students attending?
No.
Okay, so we're just going to know
Yeah.
that. All right. Wonderful. Are there any additional questions for the organization? Carly, sorry.
Have you guys done or performed at a competition before? And can you clarify a little bit more about what you mean by like performing at it but not like competing?
So, so we weren't sure about like the name thing, like about going as UMBC. So we ended up like using a different name, and we like footed the cost for it. So it was kind of like separate from school and everything. Wait, sorry. What did you say?
Like, so to exhibit but not compete, so like when you compete, like the judges will score you and like there's different like levels of cheer, like 1 through 5, like based on your difficulty and everything. So like you would like win like first, second, third place within those levels, but like since we're just exhibiting, like they just score us to like give us like an idea of like how well we're doing, but like we're not necessarily like competing for like first, second, third place. We're just showing the audience like what.
Yeah. Okay.
So I just want to make you aware that since you request dues, you are technically not allowed to be a completely funded organization. As a restricted funding organization, you are still allowed to request from Finance Board. However, as a restricted funding status, you may only receive SGA funds for the purpose of holding events which are intended for and open to all UMBC undergraduate students and for purchases directly in support of those events. So I just want to bring that up. So dues cannot be something that, since you are a fully funded organization, that you either cannot do those or you're going to have to switch to restricted status.
Okay.
All right. Are there additional questions for the organization? If not, we'll enter a period of discussion. During discussion, only Finance Board members are able to speak. However, if you do have something that you feel is pertinent to the conversation, please raise your hand. And if the conversation is continuing at this pace, I may or may not use the call. Okay. All right. So, I don't think we had too many issues until Tori brought up the restricted funding part.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, limited funding organization.
Do that first, and I'm sorry, guys. I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So, who would like to begin the discussion? I mean, we're treading into some unexplored territory before.
I have a question. Are we allowed to do anything as of right now with that? Does the limited have to be like an official paper thing? How does that work?
So technically, their constitution reflects that, but this is something that we have just been made aware of. So that's at obviously your discretion, and I've read off the in-writing rules. I can read them again if you would like me to. Yes. So as a recognized organization, there are 2 statuses as far as funding goes. So a group can either be fully funded, so funded status, or restricted funding status. We're used to only seeing like restricted funding as far as club sports and fraternities and sororities. And under the funded status, it says that you cannot require dues. And then, so what it says is an organization with restricted funding status may only receive SGA funds for the purpose of holding events which are intended for and open to all UMBC undergraduate students and for purchases directly in support of these events. If the organization collects dues, it must report this revenue to the Finance Board when requesting funds.
This puts us into a tough position, guys. The wording is relatively clear. It is clear. I don't think, do we have much wiggle room there? That's my issue. I mean, the closest parallel I can draw upon is that when you attend conferences and stuff, you pay for that. That's a one-time cost, I guess. While dues would be considered more, consistent. Tanya?
Can I ask a clarification question to the organization?
Yep.
So would you consider these meetings like your I guess an equivalent of a general body meeting, or do you have other meetings outside of this? Or okay.
No. so we're gonna go back to discussion. Thank you for answering. This is a difficult position.
We're not registered as a restricted funding organization. Correct.
But their actions reflect that of restricted funding organization. So, technically speaking, I think it is within the board's ability. If we chose to overlook at this time, inform the organization that they may cease immediately collecting dues. And move forward. Tori, can you talk about that? Is that possible or not?
If they're going to cease.
We tell them we will issue the funds now, however, you have to immediately cease collecting dues and give us a report on the amount of dues collected.
I don't see an issue with that. I can run it past Candace also.
Yeah. I'll ask a clarifying question to the organization. Did you understand that collecting dues would cause this to your organization?
We did not.
Okay. So could you talk us through, like, I know you said last year that you had out of pocket paid for most of the costs.
So like the officers, yeah.
Yeah. So could you talk about the decision this time around to shift these costs off to general members?
Because everyone is like partaking in it, and it's basically like a group effort.
Yeah.
And I also compete with everybody, so it's like I wanted everyone to be involved too, like putting the bill for that. So.
Yeah.
And getting funding, the process is pretty slow, so it was kind of difficult trying to do everything.
Okay.
I have a question. So like, if instead of like, so basically when like, so we haven't like collected dues yet since like the semester just started. So like, what we were planning on doing was like having them just give us the money for the gym and the coach, and then use that to pay like the gym and the coach. But so if they were to just use their own money to pay for the gym and the coach, because it's like per person to like get into the gym.
Yeah.
Like, is that an issue?
Oh, wait, so that's different from like the floor rental. They would still have to pay to get into the gyms to use it.
Yeah.
So dues, and as far as the way we're looking at it, is something that is like required of the members to pay. So, I mean, in my eyes, if they're willingly paying that money but not being forced to pay that money is different than dues.
And
so like,
you
so
will
like,
be like,
yeah.
you from that group if you don't.
Yeah.
So last year when we would go to practices and stuff, it would be like an individual thing we would all be paying, but we felt like collecting all the money at one time was like easier to pay everything at once. So
So is there dues that you have collected that you still have from like last year?
No.
We didn't do dues.
No,
Okay.
no, this is like a new thing.
So it's just gonna be a new thing starting this year?
Yes, it was.
Okay. I think that's something that you can consider also.
Right. So we'll return to discussion now. Let's Scott, you have a question for the organization.
Yeah, so last year did they, since you said you're going to the gym is like the GBM, did people have to pay to get into the gym last year?
Yeah, so we have to, in order to go to the gym, it is an individual, like, athlete fee for, like, entry into the gym and stuff.
But like she was saying, like even this year, like we said, like if like you can't afford it, like let one of us know and we'll like cover it for you because you don't want anyone to like not.
Okay, so we're going to return to a period of discussion. Thank you for your answers. Tanya?
So the way that I see it, there currently haven't been any dues collected, so they haven't violated anything to become a restricted funding or have us view them as such as of yet. The thing that they're requesting for is what is causing like the majority of the wanting to collect dues in the first place. So relieving them of that financial burden would also like not worry about that. I have a fair point. I'll come back to it, but I'm starting with that.
So, actually, I have one final question for the organization, please. If we were to give you this full amount right now, would there be any other costs that you would expect to be paid for?
I mean, so we do have, like, the whole exhibition fees and, what else? Like, uniforms as well.
Yeah. All right, so, well, thank you for the answer again. We'll return this period discussion. what's the thoughts, everyone? Come on, stop feeling your Scott. Put your food down. I'm talking. Decisions are happening.
This just changes. It just feels like this is like a sticky situation for us.
Kind of like.
It's so, as Tanya said, theoretically, technically speaking, the thing that would push the action, which would be collecting dues, to push them into a limited funding organization, has not occurred yet.
Yeah.
Take those organizations' word for it. Of course, if we were to find something else out, all right, don't do that to us.
So right now we view them as
technically speaking, they have not. They had the intention to do so, however, the action had not occurred yet. So they are technically, at this moment, they are not a limited funding organization. If in the future they were to collect dues and we were to find out about this, then or any organization were to, they'd be transitioned into a limited funding organization. And there would be nothing we could do to assist them in that case. So at the current moment, I'm comfortable viewing this organization as a fully funded organization, and we'll move forward at this current point. We'll issue a warning to the organization stating that you cannot collect dues. If we find out anything about that, future requests will automatically, we're gonna.
No, they just go on to like more strict.
Yeah, you automatically be shifted to limited funding organizations, and you know there are of course restrictions on that. We would not be able to assist them outside of the current guidelines that we have. Is there any objection to that? If not, I would like to, are there any motions on the floor? Are we comfortable, of course? Sorry, one last thing, Carly, would you mind? Last thing, of course, is just that these type of line items, everyone's comfortable with funding these type of line items? Wait.
Yeah, slow down.
Is everyone comfortable with funding these types of line items? So let's just say another club comes in saying, okay, well, we need yada yada, we need also time to go to the gym to try to perform our activity. Are we okay with that, or if we require equipment to perform that activity? Tanya?
Because I think the reason that was stated was without having insurance, they cannot practice on campus.
Yeah.
So, since we would typically, I feel like we would not have question if it was like just a space reservation. I view it similarly.
That's true, because we don't have the like, accessibility on campus.
Yeah. Right.
Scott, you're shaking your head?
I thought we were kind of in agreement that we didn't want to fund club sports on the wait list.
It's not a club sport. This is, they are not, they are registered as an arts and performance group, so same as like, help me out, like the stilettos, Mama's Boys, they're under that category.
Yeah, okay. And also in this case, they say that it's a competition, they're not actually competing, they're showcasing, so we avoid a lot of those issues. We of course do have a couple guidelines for the organization moving forward. Of course, we need to, Tori will be figuring out how the UMBC name works for us, so that we can further advise organizations when they're coming in. However, the current moment, this is just another, it's a showcase for them, it's an activity that they're currently doing. Yeah. They're not competing intercollegiately, which is one of the barriers that they would be facing. So yeah, Scott, does that answer your question? Okay.
This is actually, I think, the wrong budget. I think the updated budget form, the full rental is over $1,000. It's on one of the other ones. That's it.
That one, $1,125. Okay. Okay. That's perfect.
And for the floor rental, I'm about the code rental.
Okay. You mind elaborating on that?
I just feel like, obviously, to kind of better the organization, like, yes, they need coach, and using this space is like for the purpose of like the general body meetings, or they're just like their meetings of doing what they do. But like, they're not as like while they aren't requesting for the money to exhibit or perform, I just don't see why like the student activity fee money should be going towards the coach of like the people attending the things or about like tumbling stuff.
Right. Tanya?
Question, would you see the coach as an equivalent to an advisor position?
Kind of, yeah.
Do we, if we have not, to my knowledge, paid for advisory?
Yeah.
We're not prohibited from doing it.
Okay.
So seeing this Scott Canal.
But isn't an advisor like within the UMBC thing? Isn't that why we don't?
Yeah.
But this is not.
Well, you know,
Scott? Or do you want us to see to go first?
I think I'm conflicted because I feel like it's kind of necessary for the mission of the club.
yeah.
But if every other club comes in and asks for an advisory, I don't think we should set that precedent.
Well, but there's a difference between having an advisor that's from NBC and
Or for coach, my bad.
oh, for coach, but
Yeah,
like,
sure.
yeah, but this is outside NBC. And this is something that I feel like we need to get better, and I feel like this needs to go part of the buddy. So I agree with funding the coach of this.
We'll let Joshua speak.
Okay, I'm going to speak from a dancer's perspective because I know dancing should be kind of similar. I think that the coach is necessary because if not, you have to really think of the bodies that are in the space and how those could possibly be injured with, like, let's say a student coach. So I think that a coach is necessary to be, I think the finance coach is safe.
Just say the organization participants. Cecilia?
I think in this specific situation, you do need the coach, like I think Scott was saying, for the purpose of the event. I think you actually do need the coach, so I actually don't mind.
Okay. Alright.
Carly,
Any final words you want to say? Engage any of the points that have been made?
So also asking to consider if, for the board, if this would also be considered a precedent for any other organizations requesting coaching, if you would also be comfortable with that. I'm not saying one way or the other, just asking.
Yeah, what is it's just like we've heard a lot about the safety thing. If we grant an exception on safety concerns, it's perfectly valid. Let's theoretically, we can extend this. Ping pong, I love ping pong club. This is my go-to example for today. Ping pong club comes in and they start requesting for a coach. Outside of that, we can cite generally not, however, due to safety concerns for cheer, as they're throwing people in the sky and stuff, they're needed. We can definitely, there are ways we can move around this if we word it carefully, pro precedents.
I think that's a valid exception.
Scott?
Does this impact the precedent we had for QMBC where we were trying to kind of engineer them to funding themselves eventually?
I mean,
Like clubs that need funding for basically GBMs. How does that
I think
how does that work
encouraging
out?
fundraisers is what he's saying.
We encourage self-sustainability.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what we encourage every single organization.
Or make
to
it
be
cost
sustainable. Of course, yeah. That brings up a fair point. QMBC requires supplies every single week. Of course, this is one of those things again where I think the big issue for them is, of course, last year we stated that moving forward, of course, it is our duty to be supporting student organizations across this entire campus. Maybe we place an undue burden upon QMBC, and we can admit to our mistakes. If we feel it's necessary to walk it back, we can walk it back. My thing, of course. Sorry, no. Yeah, of course, we do want to encourage cost reducing and cost sharing with organizations, as Finance Board does have limited resources, and we cannot fund every single thing that comes to us. We of course understand that this does put a burden onto organizations. No?
We ask a question to the organization. Is the coach in the floor thing for the entire year, or is this?
It's for this semester.
This semester.
I don't think it's right.
Will you be spending another request for an
Yes.
semester?
Okay. And the organization had stated that of external costs, they will be paying for everything related to the competition. So I do believe the organization is acting in terms of cost sharing, and I don't see too big of an issue. Scott? No? Nothing? You good with that? Okay. So would we like to start? I think this is another discussion we can have at the end of the meeting. However, as of this moment, is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve, up to for $1,650.
Okay. All right. All those who approve for the amount of $1,650 for club cheer, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. We have 7 and 4. 0 against, 0 abstaining. All right. So Carly will be stepping out. You've been allocated $1,650. So we do, of course, sorry. Don't. collect dues.
You got it, you got it.
Okay.
Careful, Carlos.
Alright, Joshua, see, Joshua, this is why we love having FYA. You're giving that diverse perspective.
If you all want to move over here, you can
BSA,
you're now going to be able to see the screen.
I'd like to bring it up that we're running slightly behind schedule. BSA was supposed to have started 10 minutes ago. We'll move through this very quickly. Because of this, observers, I'm asking you we might just skip over you guys. Does that matter? No? Okay, so we'll just skip over the observers. Yeah. If you do, of course, have a question for the organization, you'd like to raise your hand, introduce yourself, then ask the question. Do you need a business card or something?
Who's doing BSA?
Who's doing BSA, Carly?
No.
Third shot. A second, none?
Are we switch weather?
Good, how about it?
Well, we're still doing intro.
We have a PowerPoint. Possible way we can pull this up.
Yeah.
Do you guys want a flash drive or is it
Any
on?
questions you have?
It's on Google.
Of course, also,
Email it to
about the
you.
allocation
Yeah,
process,
share it with.
Carly, I'm adding it. So if you send me an email, I might just forward it.
Oh, you need the email to send it to.
Email is very important to me about
So expected, you send me an email, 24 hour turnaround time. If you don't hear anything, send another thing to me. Mind reimbursed. Alright, thank you. Have a good day. Alright, so we're gonna start. Carly's gonna come in a little bit later, of course, but we'll start introductions now. Alright, hello, I'm Daniel White. I'm the current chair of the finance board. I use different pronouns, and we'll go this way.
Hi, I'm King Butler. I'm the Vice President of Student
Oh, no, no, introduce yourselves. Yeah, you introduce yourselves.
I'm Jocelyn, chair, ESA.
I'm Austin, and I'm the president of DSA.
I'm Solomon Tran. I'm the treasurer of the organization.
Applicant finance board representative.
Finance board representative.
Tori Heasley, advisor.
Christina, finance board representative, pronouns she, her.
Hi, I'm Tanya, finance board vice chair, she, her pronouns.
Joshua, freshman basket.
So you said you had a presentation, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so,
shared it with them.
okay, you shared it with them? So I would like to note, we want to be respectful of your time as well as ours, so I'm gonna limit your presentation to around five minutes, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you wanna go head up there, or do you wanna take over, how do you wanna do it? It's up to you.
We'll head up to the front. So can you skip to this one?
So, I'll start you at 6:58, and then you have 5 minutes, so you'll have until 7:03.
Oh.
I usually say 5 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm trying to keep schedule, sorry guys.
I understand.
Alright.
So we're here to talk about UMBC State's night market. So this is our official second ESA night market of the year. The first ESA night market was a huge success. It's an opportunity for members to interact with other student or cultural organizations. It's a typical night market, so we have games, food, performances that show up on the screen. And this year we're emphasizing Veteran Food, which is our mid-autumn festival. This event encourages confidence, creativity, teamwork, and leadership. So our night market and effects on UMBC as a community. Our annual night market highlights differences in culture to promote tolerance, acceptance, and diversity while highlighting even more similarities to promote community and strengthen diversity. It reaches out to many families because a lot of families, student families, come out and support this event. It provides a memorable experience not only for our attendees, but also for other student organizations, because we have other student orgs such as KSA coming out to table for our event, KSA, JSA, BNMAP, along with Lambda Phi Epsilon, which is a newly established Asian interest fraternity. And it's an opportunity for students to learn about Vietnamese culture and many others.
So numbers and statistics. So over 250 people attended the event, and then about of those 250 people, about 85% of those were UMBC students. And then, as we mentioned before, a lot of cultural organizations like KSA, FAFSA, CSA, DSA, they all had their own tables and were part of the pool of UMBC students. 9% of attendees were from families of UMBC students. 5% were from other schools such as UMB and GNU, and 1% were returning UMBC alumni. Right. So our collective philanthropy project, or CFP, is Children Up and Down. So basically, that project helps to break this cycle of poverty, provide aid to children and family in times of crises. It also gives children the opportunity to attend school, places of youth over their heads, and nurtures development. And we also plan to help this project by holding a Thai tea fundraiser during the night market. 50% of the proceeds will go to this project.
So we're asking the finance board to help us fund for setup, audio-visual, security, and housekeeping. Also, we asked Comvision to design a banner for us and with an iNet and quarter cards. And then our caterer is Saigon Restaurant in Virginia. And our fund, we're not asking for other funds, we're fundraising ourselves for a couple other things like crafts and decorations. We're gonna keep track of that guys first.
So, here's our catering invoice. We're still kind of new to all this as a generally new board. So we still are missing some of the things, but we have this invoice and have sent it to the restaurant, and they just need to email me back with the rest of the paperwork.
Oh, no, this is all.
Okay.
That's the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Is there a detailed presentation?
Yeah.
If you open up the documents.
And they're within the time frame that Daniel said.
Yes. Yeah, guys. I don't know why. Thank you. Thank you for being nice and prompt. Yeah. I really do appreciate that.
That would be a fair questions, by the way.
Yeah. All right. So Carly, so you guys should have received a set of questions beforehand. Yes. You should have received a set of questions beforehand. I sent it to Sullivan. Okay. Well, generally, next time you guys come around, we do send you a list of questions that we're going to be asking you guys. Of course, presentation answered many of them. However, there are a couple that we still like to hit on. So, Carly will be asking the questions. Carly, I'll use your judgment on which ones will you use.
Cool. So that was a great presentation. I really like how you guys were saying that you're also kind of taking up fundraising to cover the cost of decorations. So that's great. How did you decide on the choice of food and the catering, I guess?
So typically a night market has food at the events, and to give people the kind of a night market environment, we want to provide them food. It would be nice if we were able to provide like all kinds of food from other organizations, but we know that typically it's kind of hard to get funding from multiple restaurants, so we just decided to choose a local Vietnamese restaurant.
And is there a kind of timeline for the event? Or like breakdown of like how it goes, or is it people flowing in and out? Like what
people will be flowing in and out, so performances will be held on the
grass area, common areas?
While the tables will be set up behind the grass area, so people could like stroll through.
How is your organization reaching out to like members, not necessarily in BSA, but like other generals? Oh, yeah. Never mind.
We can always ask that. Are you guys doing any other to reach outside of your usual audience?
Well, typically we set up this new thing called Reminder. So people who sign up under Reminder get text messages about our events coming up. So that's the one way we've been notifying our members about like current events. Also, we have a Facebook page which does not include UMBC students, so that's how we reach out to other schools such as GMU and UMB.
Okay, cool. Do you guys plan on making a My UMBC event for this?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
So my
Don't blame me for it.
we're trying to encourage more student organizations to use my UMBC and upload events that they're having onto my UMBC. So assuming that your organization has like access to my UMBC, and I think Tori, are all the like all the officers of the my UMBC pages, are they like updated year to year? Is that just kind of like
It's on them.
It's, like the
yeah.
page might be outdated.
Yeah,
They-
that's-
They might not even have, like, some are.
Some don't have them, some don't know they have them.
Right.
Yeah. Some are very active on them. It's on as far as the groups to kind of create and do themselves. As far as their little link on the actual website, that's what we update. But my UMBC is kind of like your Facebook page for the group.
Oh, okay.
So,
I guess we could take a look into that. We never used it prior.
Okay.
Before that, I know the previous board didn't typically use the my UMC page, but we could take a look into that.
Okay, yeah.
It's definitely worth it, especially because it's going to be revamped, hopefully, for next fall.
yeah.
So,
Okay.
And I just like reach a broader audience, because like if you're going on there to like do something general, like check grades or something like that, it just like pops up and be like, oh, there's a BSA event on whatever date, like, and then you can click on it to find more information.
So of course we encourage that. But as a note for you guys, Caroline, you want to continue?
Why did you choose to have it outside the state instead of UC Ball? Just out of curiosity.
Okay. Well, previously I saw the invoice from last year because I was also on the board, and I realized a lot of funding goes into like using groups inside, such as tech, lighting, sound systems, and whatnot. But also because the weather has been kind of nice, it would be a more night market type of environment if we were to hold it outside rather than inside.
Yes. Wait, it says on one of the last pages that there's an entertainment contract, but there's nothing that indicates that there is an
There's
entertainment.
no like outside entertainment anymore.
Oh,
We have it came out of.
okay, alright.
Sounds good.
Do we have to ask what are the audiovisual components of it, or like how are they used?
There's just lighting for like the performances on the grass area.
Okay.
And then the audio so that they can do certain things.
Okay.
what was that last part? I'm sorry.
The audio so that they can dance to music.
Got it. Cool. Thanks.
All right, so that finishes our pre-list of questions. I'd open up to the board to any additional questions.
I have a question, but I need a second, so if someone else has a question, that's fine.
I don't know if this is a concern or not. Do you know how food plays a role in the event?
Yeah, it said,
Yeah.
about like the market madness.
So at a typical night market,
Yeah.
it usually holds performances, games, and food. And to give people that full like aspect, we want to provide them with the opportunity to have food. And also, I feel like food's a good way to people understand other culture, because it's really fun because a lot of people have never even tried an egg roll or something. So we're making sure that not only will there be food for everyone, but also a vegetarian option as well for those who can't eat meat.
Scott?
No questions for the org. I'll move to discussion.
Tanya has something.
So for the philanthropy and the collection, do you have a cash box for that, or are you planning on having one?
See, that's just something that I previously brought up, or I put on there currently. We weren't 100% sure if it was okay for us to have a fundraiser at our event as well. I talked to the previous president about this, and she said we had to run it through you guys before. So if we are allowed to have a fundraiser while we're running our event, then yeah, we would apply for a cash box.
Yeah. All right. So I have a couple questions for the organization. Scott, you let me go first, or is it permanent? Okay. So my question is, how many groups will be performing?
There will be 5 performances.
5 performances. Okay. All right. Follow-up question. For the donations and stuff like that, so you said you'll be utilizing the Thai tea, right? It's not going to be like mandatory or anything like, oh, you have to buy it.
No, we're gonna start off with LASA introduction, which is a parenting like organization,
Right.
and they could give the members or like people attendees a little more insight onto what CPD is and our children will be about.
All right. If there's not, are there any other questions for the organization? Scott?
So this event is outside, right?
Yes.
Is there a contingency plan if there is bad weather?
We're planning to move to Main Street if we could.
Well, we've been hoping for the best.
Yeah.
As of now.
All right, if there's no additional questions, we'll move into period discussion. Period discussion is only for finance board members. However, if the finance board member feels like they'd like to ask you a question, or if you have something that you'd like to say, we are open for clarifying periods. Just raise your hand and I may call upon you. Okay. All right. Who would like to start? Who's first? Rock, paper, scissors? Scott?
I think this is basically the model for a cultural event. They have collaboration, marketing, cultural food, cultural performances.
Okay.
I see no reason why we shouldn't fund this.
All right.
Yeah, I would add their presentation, like they went above and beyond. Thank you guys for that. The presentation really helped understand as well, but also kind of like what Scott said, like the collaboration, outreach, even having like that philanthropy / like fundraiser for a project, I think is really good as well, and I really appreciate what the org is doing.
Or even cost sharing, Daniel.
Yeah, I love my social cost sharing. All right, let's see, because I'm Daniel, and I have to make life difficult for all of you. So we do need to set a precedent on food. What is the max that we are willing to spend on food per head?
Well, with what they're requesting and the amount of people that they're expecting, it averages out to like 4.28.
4.2. We have no issues with 4.28, do we? Okay. All right. Are there any motions on the floor?
I move to approve this.
All right.
For two. Wait, I can't read.
We have to say the number.
2061.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor for approval of 20161.28. All those for? 7. All those against? 0. All those abstaining? 0. All right. You've been funded for the amount of.
Yes, thank you.
So Carly will be speaking to you about next steps, and if you have any complaints about the process, please let her know.
Okay, are you ready to say
it was just
comments?
And I got us back on schedule.
Back on schedule?
So damn good at this.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So the math, okay.
You have to put like hours and time. Last year.
So we don't have to, but it was just like a general. Does anyone plan?
Thanks for coming. Yes. That's what I'm doing. I'm gonna start fundraising for my organization.
So okay, go back to okay.
So that was why.
Good job, Joshua.
Is anyone gonna play?
So,
Is that actually this week or is that next week?
That's next week.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll take a 3-minute recess before we meet you guys. Okay. Phil, turn that thing off. 3-minute recess. We'll be back here by 7:15.
Oh God, so it did glitch. Okay, so